Ever wonder what connects an ancient cave painting to the phone in your hand? Well, they're both products of design, this incredible force that's been shaping our world for, well, thousands of years. Today, we're going to take a super fast tour through that history to see how the world around us was built piece by piece with intention. So, here's our roadmap. We're starting way back, from the dawn of human creativity, then jumping into the moment the machine changed everything. We'll unpack the revolutionary idea that form follows function, see how that exact principle lives in the device in your hand, and finally, we'll look ahead to how designers are trying to shape a better future for all of us. All right, let's start with that big question. I know, it seems like a total stretch, right? A cave painting and a smartphone? But the answer is actually pretty simple. Purpose. Both were designed to do something, to serve a function. Whether it's telling the story of a hunt or, helping you find a coffee shop. And that single idea, purpose, is the thread we're going to follow through this whole thing. Okay, so for most of human history, and I mean the vast majority of it, design wasn't just about making things look pretty. It was all about solving a problem, whether that problem was survival, worship, or just keeping a record of what happened. And you can see this play out over thousands of years. It starts with using whatever you can find, natural pigments, to document your life on a cave wall. Then you have civilizations like the Egyptians creating these incredibly intricate hieroglyphics for their stories and religion. And it all leads up to these jaw-dropping Gothic cathedrals. Those soaring arches and flying buttresses, they weren't just for decoration. They were a brilliant engineering solution designed to do one thing: lift the building and your spirit closer to the heavens. Every single element had a job. And then, boom, everything changed. The Industrial Revolution hits, and for the very first time, design has this massive identity crisis. A battle was born, really, between the unique, handcrafted object and the identical, mass-produced one. So on one side, you have the machine just churning out stuff for everyone. And this was revolutionary. It made things accessible in a way they never were before. But on the other side, you have this powerful counter-movement that basically said, whoa, hold on, we're losing something really important here. The soul, the artistry, the human touch. And the champion of this rebellion was a guy named William Morris. He looked at all the stuff coming out of factories and saw it as, well, cheap and soulless. He believed we were losing that human touch. So he got a collective of artists together to bring back the quality and integrity you'd find in medieval craftsmanship. Their detailed handmade work was a direct protest against the machine, a bold stand for beauty and the value of humans. But what if fighting the machine was the wrong move? What if you embraced it? A whole new wave of designers started asking this exact question. They decided the future wasn't about looking back. It was about creating a totally new philosophy that worked with our modern industrial world. And this was their mantra, 3 simple words that would change design forever. Form follows function. The idea is that an object's purpose should be the only thing that determines its shape. No extra frills, no pointless decoration, just pure, unfiltered function. The epicenter of this whole new philosophy was a school in Germany called the Bauhaus. They threw out all the fancy, ornamental styles of the past. Instead, they used clean lines, simple geometric shapes, and industrial materials to create a brand new, modern look. For them, the machine wasn't the enemy of art. It was its most powerful new tool. Okay, so we've got this old debate, handcrafted beauty on one side and machine-driven function on the other. But how does any of this affect you today? Well, the answer is literally sitting in your pocket. So after World War II, the ideas of modernism evolved into something we now call Swiss design. You can think of it as design that's been stripped down to its absolute core purpose, communication. It's all about grids, clean fonts, and a ruthless focus on clarity. The goal was to get information across as efficiently as possible. And in doing that, it basically created the foundation for almost all modern graphic design. And that brings us right to today. Google's material design system, that's the visual language behind tons of the apps on your phone, is a direct descendant of that philosophy. It uses simple things like layers and shadows, not to look pretty, but to functionally guide you. It helps you understand intuitively how to use the app. It's really just Swiss design for the digital world. So you see the connection, right? It's undeniable. That focus on grids, on clarity, on making things easy to use. It's a straight line from the Bauhaus and Swiss design right to the user-friendly apps we use every single day. The philosophy didn't just survive, it adapted and totally thrived in the digital age. So what's next? Well,
Today, designers are tackling some of the biggest challenges humanity has ever faced. And to do that, they're developing totally new ways of thinking to meet this moment.
One of the biggest ideas right now is human-centered design. It's a huge shift from just asking, hey, can we build this? To asking, wait a minute, should we build this? And who are we really building it for? It's all about empathy, about really understanding people to create things that genuinely make their lives better. And as our lives get more and more digital, another cool trend is popping up to reconnect us to the real world: biophilic design. It's based on this simple but powerful idea that humans have an innate need to be around nature. You know that amazing feeling you get from a sunlit room or just being around plants? Designers are now harnessing that, intentionally bringing nature back into our buildings to lower stress and just make us feel better.
And the challenges today they're immense. Designers are on the front lines of sustainability, figuring out how to reuse buildings instead of just tearing them down. They're developing new ways to build things more efficiently. And maybe most importantly, they're asking tough questions about inclusivity, working to create products and spaces that actually work for everyone, not just for a select few. So we come full circle. From the cave wall to the cathedral to the phone in your hand, design has always been about solving the problems of its time. The tools change, the challenges change, but that fundamental purpose, it stays the same. So the only real question left is, what problems are we going to choose to solve next?